Hi there. Our meditation for this is going to be very simple. To take some slow, steady breaths in and out, releasing stress as we exhale. Now we're going to regulate our breathing by counting to 4 on the in-breath, pausing for 4 before we exhale, counting to 4 as we exhale, pausing for 4 before we inhale. This is called squared breathing. I'm going to do it with you. Inhale for 4. Okay. After doing a few rounds, return to breathing normally. The next thing we want to do, take our left hand and move it over to our right knee and then return it. Take our right hand, move it over to the left knee and return it. And now we're going to count to 20 as we do this. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Take a nice deep breath. Exhale completely. And resume normal breathing. We have now synced both sides of our body, both hemispheres of our brain. And as we go into the reading, we set the intention for this or something better, meaning we will not be limited by what we encounter in the reading, that we will only use it for our highest good and the highest good of all. And if there is something better, we wish to line up with that. Okay? And let us begin. Hey there, you chose reflection number 1. For a reading about relationships in our lives. So this may actually talk about a relationship, a relating pattern, or a specific relationship, or relationships in general of a specific kind in your life. So let's see. You'll kind of have to fill that in, right? Light-hearted, carefree time. Wish will not be granted. Don't take these too seriously. We're going to put them in the gist of the reading. Financial pinch. Do not back down from opposition. Show strength and fortitude. Fear worries tense situations. Okay, pride. I won't give up. So maybe certain people are coming to mind when I say these things. Let's part ways. Maybe later. People that this might apply to in your life, or this type of people, like I did look at these ahead of time, and I feel like this group of people is more people on the outskirts of your life. Maybe you have to see them a lot. Maybe they have an authority over you, but they're not like close knit. They maybe haven't really like, you wouldn't necessarily consider them a friend, and they've not like come to meet your family or anything like that. It's like, we got landlord, technician, interference, artist, and boss. So we might be talking about how you feel and think about people like this in your life. Or there might be a specific situation with a person like one of these things in your life. But let's uncover some more. Burdens carried silently. Karmic relationship. Visit mom's house. Get some exercise a day. Love life. Finishing up, culmination. Establishment. Support, safe, stable. Work through your fears. Nothing is yet set in stone. All right, when I have karmic relationship come up here, it to me it tells me that there's some sort of pattern being shown to you within the context of these type relating dynamics that's going to be important to you and maybe rooted in compromise and attachment. It's a way that you cope, a way that you feel comfortable in life is being maybe threatened. Worry is a wasted emotion. It may not be actually being threatened. You might just worry that it is. Like something's going to happen with the landlord or the boss or even like a technician that is coming to work on your, something in your home. It's like, it's a feeling of vulnerability. Peace. Empathy. Changed belief. Assess values. And fear reaction. This could be something that happened due to an experience you had of overwhelm or unfairness or trauma. And this could be affecting how you're experiencing something today. And you might know that. Like you used to think it was safe to have a technician to come into your house, but then something happened. It was inappropriate. You were uncomfortable. Maybe someone stole from you. Maybe someone assaulted you. Or you used to feel like you could trust your boss, but then you saw them, in the copy room doing something underhanded, and now you're not so sure. You You used to think you could count on your landlord to take care of issues, but then you had an issue and they didn't, you know? Some sort of thing that made you feel supported and safe and stable has been kind of like tipped off kilter. Be affecting a lot of other parts of your life. Like if you've gone into this like withdrawal, you may not be getting out and exercising. You might, have decided to stop dating over it and be not going out to have fun. It's a possibility. Not for everyone, I think. Am I apologizing for my truth? What part of you is apologizing for your truth and why? If I had a magic wand and could have everything I desired in life, what would I choose? Burn with desire. There is power in your desires. Let them be your fuel today. Your desires are your soul's wings, and it's time to take flight. When was the last time I danced freely? Because it will shift you into a beautiful state. Dance because it will get you out of your head and into your body and heart. Because fear lives in the head along with anxiety, control, guilt, frustration, and impatience. In just a few minutes of dancing, you will make the shift. You will feel a change of joy and confidence take over, and you will feel a soul reminder to live and lead from your heart. The dancing is a tool to ground us in the now. It triggers happiness, and it is the gateway to freedom, to become free. Dance. Okay, and we did have get some exercise. So it's inviting you to use that as a way to come out of it. Curiosity is another way to lead yourself out. Prometheus, and the card says cunning. And then Demeter, mother. The original fearful issue could have happened in mother's house. And maybe there was no resolution to it, so you've carried it, for a long time, and it's just coming up now to be healed, so you might not remember it even. To my phone when I really want to just look at the book on this. I just went into like a mindless picking up my phone thing for the answer when really I wanted to read the book. So isn't that interesting? So you really might need to slow down to take notice of what it actually is activating you into this response of, I think it's withdrawing from a bunch of aspects of life that would actually fulfill you. But I want to look up Prometheus in this book here. Now you too must use clever tactics and remain undaunted, cunning, and determined to succeed. The trade-off for upsetting people is your strength and fortitude. Yes, you may have adversaries, but use guile, anticipation, hope, and foresight to achieve success. So someone might actually not be fair in this situation, and you have to tell the truth about how it's affecting you. And it might upset them. What is it that you want? Really get in touch with that. Let's look what Demeter has to say. As a guardian, as a gardener, parent or child, you are now surrounded by Demeter's powerful embrace. Whether in grief or fruitfulness, you can reach for her love and she will walk with you while you grow. So this is a process of growth that you're going through right now. That's why it's karmic. There's something where you're learning something you wouldn't have otherwise learned from this situation. To make a new habit, perhaps, or learning about a habit you've been doing that is actually burdening you. Yeah. And it's helping you avoid something, and it's how you protect yourself. Saying ask for assistance from appropriate and use your imagination. Now, in this case, some of you, I might actually find help in one of the people in your life that is in these roles. Yep. Okay. Psyche, Apophis, 17th harmonic, Aries, Hopi, Cupido, Aphrodite, Progression, Melpomene, and Hebe. So your reading is really about getting back to life in a way that lets you feel more free. So spending more time in the moment, spending more time honoring your own truth and what it is that you desire, taking the steps that you need to take in order to feel safe, whether that be processing through an uncomfortable emotion so that you can become the person that can handle that, or asking for help. Time to make a plan because this seems to have affected all parts of your life at this point. And really, the most important thing for you to do in order to take the steps in the direction you want to go in is to have your stability and your safety. Without safety, you're not really going to be able to make a lot of progress because that fear is going to feel overwhelming and you might not be able to use your will to overcome it. So addressing your safety first. So is there one of these people that you need to talk to? Like, do you leave work really late and you need to make sure that you have some pepper spray and a big flashlight when you go walk to your car at night? You know, when you lock up, can you talk to your boss about that? You know, is it appropriate to speak to your landlord about changing the locks because you feel like someone that used to live in your apartment still has the key? Or, you know, a technician, did they leave and they still have the codes to your security system? So do you need to change those? So to start with addressing the safety issues and the dancing, using physical motion to kind of be and get in your body, which you might even be, you know, slightly dissociated from because of all of this. So you're going to be going from this like really fearful, worried place to a more lighthearted place. Feel like you don't want to ask for help and that you'd just like it to be like magically taken care of for you. Looking at the wish will not be granted card. Because this is a karmic situation, that card is telling me like it's something you wanted to learn from. So it's not going to just have an easy fix that you don't have to do something for. But start with the dance, start with getting in your body. Start with understanding that it's a fear reaction. What's important to you? It's like start taking up space. And then eventually you're going to be feeling much safer, and then you'll be able to follow your curiosity to the next thing. And that might be part of the worry. It's like, well, even if I was feeling up to it, what would I even do? It's like your curiosity will lead the way. There may be a need to honor this sadness. Life is affected. May have cut somebody off. That might be what's causing some sadness as well. Like you feel bad about that, right? It's like, well, if you didn't have what it took to be in, an interaction that was, appropriate and fair and all of that, if you didn't have the energy to do give and receive with somebody else, and you also didn't have the energy to explain that to them, if this person is someone who's true to you, right, then they're going to understand that when you are able to have a conversation if you want to. So it's kind of like you got to worry about you first. You have a truth. What's the truth of the matter for you? The truth is that you didn't have it in you to show up for them in the way that they needed, and you didn't even have it in you to tell them. And that's okay. That's got to be okay. But first, you've got to be okay with it. Might have been so attached to this person energetically that you felt the pain of it, and maybe that's what's causing difficulty for you, right? It's like how much pain you caused, or they were in as a result, let's say, because whether you're the cause of it or not isn't really a true statement, right? Because we don't control how other people feel. Maybe you're imagining it, you felt something, and then you're imagining it and making it a lot worse for yourself in your head, right? Because this worry is getting mixed in. And it's like maybe give them some credit for utilizing that process for their own healing. Maybe this is a person who was able to realize, well, it doesn't mean something about me if I get rejected. Something is going on with this person that I care about. Maybe they attempted to try to figure it out with you. But if they got mad at you and withdrew and turned against you, then you understand like that was how they handled their emotions, And maybe you can repair it and maybe you won't repair it. It's kind of like a secondary thing at this point, because first and foremost, it's like tend to you and get your foundation right. And your foundation is that you want to feel safe and supported, and you want to address this issue of not being able to ask for help when you need it is one thing. And avoiding dealing with it too. Like maybe it all kind of hit you because it just became too much to continue on the path of this loop, this repeating way of dealing with a situation or not dealing with it. And I think that it's surfaced from, I don't know, but I just went blank when I was about to say that, so we're not going to say that. Empathy comes up in this reading twice. We started the reading by talking about your relationship with other people and how, it might not be that great with not being able to trust certain like outlying people, right? And maybe that feeling was rooted in an earlier experience. People are people that do have some level of authority, that you do have to trust a bit, you know? So where else were you in relationship with someone who you had to trust a bit? Okay, so all right, here's what's coming together now. We got the visit mom's house card, and it's like these people in your life are not close like a mother. They're not someone that it's like you're invested in to that degree. Yet they are in a position where you still have to look to them and depend on them and trust them. And you realize that you don't, that there is worry around this issue of needing to depend on someone else that you don't want to depend on, basically. And in some way you are at their mercy. And it only feels like that, like they could be perfectly reputable and honest and fair, and it could just be your perception in some cases. And others of you could be dealing with someone who is unfair. But your truth matters, right? So in the situation that might have originally happened in mom's house, you were perhaps forced to compromise in a place where you didn't want to have to compromise. It's like on your truth. It's like you knew one thing and then you were to believe and trust another. Your attachment is to how you cope with that. And this time in your life, because you don't have another person in your life that would activate you into that wound, it's like you've been forced into a situation where you are going to activate that wound by dealing with someone in this other position, right? It's not mother anymore who can activate you that way. In fact, you probably have really good coping mechanisms so that if you do get in a relationship with someone else, that they will not be able to activate it just simply by the way you cope. And they might not ever know that you get melancholic and have feelings or are doing things to protect yourself. I think they might see you as quite competent, even in some cases here, and maybe even in service to them. Maybe you've taken up the service role for other people so that they never kind of push you on that thing, right? You never really have to count on them or be vulnerable with them or trust them. And now here you need somebody else that you're going to have to trust because like a lot's at stake, right? It's your money, it's your place to live. It's the functioning of something you need, you know, like who knows, like your stove, your refrigerator, your security system. I don't know what the technician would be working on, your internet, you know, communications with the outside world and stuff like that. It's like you really rely on this person and it's literally designed to make you feel into that vulnerable place and then realize like I really don't like this vulnerable place that I'm in. I don't like being in this space. And by being in this situation, you're forced to be, you know, remembering that you have that insecurity. The truth is that you've been keeping people maybe at an arm's length. You've been hoping in a certain way. I feel like I don't want to get too specific on that because I feel like maybe it's a lot of different ways for a lot of different people. And I feel like I'm speaking very generally to an issue that, you know, has been hard to get you to look at. Okay? And so maybe even when I'm saying it, you're like, I wasn't worried about that. I wasn't worried when I had to trust them to do that. I'm not worried that my boss is going to like can me or anything. You know, like maybe there's a part of you that's just like, no, we're not looking at this. Maybe later. Like, like, I feel like maybe you would even like leave that job if that boss put you in that position. Maybe you have coping mechanisms like that. Like you wouldn't even call the technician that would work that way. You'd only call a technician that you knew for a long time, that was a family friend, You might have really elaborate ways of avoiding dealing with this because I think it feels a little vague. But it's asking you to get in the moment, get in your body, and then that presence that you're going to be in, okay? So here's a clue too. Because we've got dance and get some exercise, and it's like talking about being in the moment when you dance and being free. That's presence. When you're in that moment and you're not worried about the past or the future, right? You're just like in the moment, feeling your body move, letting the energy move through you and your body. It's important for you to know what presence is and what it feels like. So it's like this reading has a built-in way to show you what that feeling is, of being present with something that you've been ignoring or not paying attention to and avoiding. Be a bit too prideful to look at within yourself because it feels too vulnerable. And it's saying like that feeling of maybe just fearful that your truth won't be honored, that you'll have to compromise in a way that you don't want to compromise. That's you're being asked and forced in a way to be present with that feeling. And you can go on denying it and you can try to avoid it, but it kind of seems like this is going to repeat until you deal with it. So it's like, how many situations are you going to be put in where you're going to be reminded of this? If you're avoiding it and you're trying to go in the direction that lets you continue to avoid it, you're just going to turn into another direction, which will lead you to the same exact kind of experience. So it's kind of saying like, here you are ready to graduate and finish up this pattern. And this has been a pattern of compromising yourself and your truth in favor of not having to be vulnerable. You may not even realize that you worry a lot about this and that you plan your life accordingly so that you can avoid this scenario. You may not realize how much goes by the wayside and how your relationships suffer. Because you get back what you put out in energy, right? So if you're working for a boss and you're like, I'll up and leave at any moment, it's like your bosses end up not investing in you either, just by virtue of energetically understanding and feeling that within you, that you're a non-committal person. And so you don't get promotions and you don't get taken seriously and you're just called as a backup. And and maybe your landlord also kind of feels like, I'm not going to spend time fixing up, for this person or making a new key because they're probably just going to leave. They're probably not going to pay the rent. And then they're going to leave. And they can feel the energy of non-commitment, non-investment, avoidance, and parting ways. They can feel it, right? And maybe they can't articulate that that's what they're doing. They're feeling it. It's just that they're responding to your energy, to your way of being, to your fear. And when you have that fear, your wish will not be granted, right? It's like you can wish for it to be different, but what will make it different is changing the energy, alchemizing the energy. So dealing with this pain that you had over compromising, and it originated in mom's house, compromising your truth. When's the last time you had to do it? When's the first time you had to do it? Remember an incident, you can go back to that incident in your imagination and rearrange it, kind of tell a new story into your subconscious with imagery, showing yourself what you wished happened instead, giving yourself what you needed for real in that moment. And just kind of that, we can call that like soul retrieval. Bring that part of yourself up in line with the new story you want to tell, which is that, you don't have to worry about this happening again anymore. And if you have some feelings about it, it is important to be present with them. And even if you have to dance your way through being present, like if you're not practiced at being present, if you think a lot, if you're very logical, sometimes being present is more difficult. So being in your physical body can sometimes help that. Okay. There might be there might be something that you'll want to do every day to help yourself kind of establish a new way of being, right? So maybe every day for a while you commit to, I don't know, just the act of committing to something every day though. It's kind of to establish this ritual for yourself of where you weren't committing before. Maybe it's like, I commit to tell the truth every day, whether it's in your own journal or to somebody else, or, you know, whenever you get the opportunity or however you work it, whatever makes sense for you. Okay. Right. We're gonna wrap this reading up because that's the gist of it for you, is that there is likely an incident in mom's house in the childhood home where you had to compromise your truth. Maybe your truth would have got you in trouble. Maybe no one really cared about how you felt. Maybe they told you it wasn't the truth when you knew it was. Whatever happened there, acknowledge, validate, accept that it happened, be present with how that felt when it happened. And you will become the version of yourself who no longer has to avoid that feeling, even if you've been unaware that you were avoiding it in the first place. Someone who is able to be vulnerable and is not too prideful to ask for what they want, whether it be clarification or just expressing a desire. That completes your reading. Hey, you chose reflection number 2. See what we got. I have requested these readings to have a relationship focus. So it could be about how you relate to someone specific, or a in a situation, or in general. We got Anubis, which this is from the astrology oracle. Anubis represents weighing the heart to see if it's light as a feather at the end of a life. Tantalus, Aries, fifth harmonic, Sisyphus, Tune, and Mura. I think this was supposed to be pile 2. I could be wrong. I mean, I think this was supposed to be pile 3. I could be wrong, but let's see. We're still going to keep it as pile 2. I'm sharing that because there could be some sort of mix-up. Okay? Plenty of material things. Remember, don't take these too seriously. We're going to get them all out, and then I'll get the message from the gist. Pleasure with a close friend. Temporary situation. Getting together with friends. great good fortune, wishes granted. We are incompatible. Children are important to me. Let's move in together. Ready to invest in this. Want to meet your family. I cannot forgive. Let's balance this out. Pretend I don't care. Let's work this out. My friends are important. Working on implementing a solution. I am traveling. Let's stay in. I want to know more. Okay. Obviously some conflicting things here, but we did have, I only pretend not to care. And so I put that down with the I cannot forgive and we are incompatible, because it seems like there's an energy here that's causing someone to be flip-floppy. But let's see. This was the pile that originally, when I dealt this out, it was going to be pile 3. There's definitely some mix-up. Okay. The relationship people we got here are father and mother. So if it's not directly your father and mother, it could be you as a father or mother. And it could be how you relate with others in general due to the relationship you had with father and mother. Now, Mura is an energy about, in the mythology, she was a braggart about the beauty of her children, and then she was cursed to fall in love with her father. So, I'm just going to keep going. Completion of a cycle. Forgive her. Get it done. Grass is green, go. In the rough. Goodbye to the old, hello to the new. Oh, we got let's move in together. Daughter. High standards, ask nicely, acknowledge, validate, invite to level up. Communication from the angels, siblings, or neighbors. Stacking things, got your back. You're very close to achieving your goal. Do you need to release? So at the root cause of any issues in this relationship, we've got compensation, comfort zone. It's not a weakness. Happiness, worry. You have faith, taking uninspired action. There is a misunderstanding here. Being asked to uplift yourself, to express yourself, and letting you know it's out of your control. There's really a need to pull your energy back into yourself, right? Because I feel like there are other factors here, right? There are other people. I don't even know what I'm saying yet. Okay, I'm just saying some stuff, and it'll hopefully come together with a cohesive message. But you've been doing something over and over again, and it's kind of like you don't have control over the other factors here. And you might have grown very comfortable with how things are. You might have even grown up this way. But it is time to go. It's time to kind of complete it. And with that, there's going to be some forgiveness. And it could be of your own inner child. It could be your own inner feminine child. You know, if you are a male, this could be having to do with your feminine energy. Where can I create more space? What am I grateful for right now? Soul. With the avarice for Poseidon. Healing for the Asclepius. And merrymaking, Dionysus. I'm going to read the book on the Greek mythology cards. Kind of have the urge to pause and kind of get the message together before I continue, but that might be me responding to someone out there feeling a little bit patient. So I'm just going to ask you to bear with me and be patient. Let's see what these cards have for messages. We're almost to the bottom, and then we should be able to get the message out. Whoever this card describes is already in a powerful position, so they may be wise to avoid coveting more. It would be prudent to focus on what one does have as opposed to what one does not have. We got compensation, feeling like someone owes you. Pay attention to your dreams now and try to interpret their hidden meaning, for this might shed light on any healing needs that your soul might have. Perhaps you may also be interested in cleansing or might consider dietary improvements. Yeah, because we got Dionysus, and that might be a card about drinking. Let's see. Dionysus is also referred to as the god who is destroyed, disappears, and is reborn again. Perhaps this is a metaphor for being exhausted and then being revived by merrymaking. After all, Dionysus was accompanied by Silenus, who represents the deepest and most ancient wisdom of all. So consider whether you need some fun and revelry to restore your mental effectiveness. Dionysus was a high-profile god whose themes included winemaking, grapevines, pleasure-seeking, or orgiastic behavior. Orgiastic. Oh. And even madness or insanity. You say it's insanity to keep doing the same thing and expecting different results, right? If you saw this type of behavior in your parents' relationship. See what these cards say. It's just fear, anxiety, regret, denial, soul family, ashamed, projector, playful, new creation, proud, and victimized. Okay, so there's a lot here about getting together with friends, about kind of having a good time, good fortune, and a wish being granted. But the card that those good fortune and wish being granted on was this is a temporary situation. May have been a pattern here of partying or together with friends, being social, being busy. Something new here for you to create with a new higher standard. And I feel like it doesn't exclude your fun times. What's the issue here, guys? Where can I create more space? What am I grateful for right now? Some sort of softness. What do I need to release? Oh, yeah. I was just thinking there's some sort of softness needed, and then I saw the what do you need to release card, and so I realized it's this. It's the I only pretend I don't care. So I think you've rejected this feminine part of you. You know, if you are feminine, it's not like you've rejected it completely. It's like this certain circumstances where you are pretending that you don't care. And it's so you can be comfortable. I'm going to say this, don't take this if it's not for you. And if it is for you, I want to warn you that I'm going to say something that might call out a situation that was potentially abusive to you when you were younger in your family home by a person that was inappropriate, like father. Okay? And it's like I cannot forgive. And for those that were violated by father in this situation, it's saying like, you know, you've adapted very well, and it's time for this to kind of be healed. It's time for you to bring this up and just get it done, right? Maybe there's a need to forgive mother in the process, but that's not going to come first, right? And maybe even yourself for making the choices that you've made since then. But maybe you've coped very well and taken care of yourself very well despite all of this. As a result, maybe you've really kept things light, you know? You've kept your group of people close knit. There is some worry, though. Let's see, what's this worry about? I am learning that worry doesn't change an outcome. That someone, or you know, doesn't like you because of it, or worry that someone else is that way too. You have a really robust social life, and you're kind of a protector of children, right? And that really are focused on enjoying life and having fun and being around people that you enjoy and that you love. And I think you are sort of like very giving and in service. So I don't think that the femininity is cut off that way or anything like that. I think it's something where maybe the gentleness that you would show yourself is cut off. The free expression is cut off a little bit. This maybe it's like up and down, right? I'm fun, I'm happy, I'm celebrating, I'm down, I'm sad, I can't cope. So the misunderstanding is that it's wrong to be these both things. Misunderstanding is any stigma that you've associated with yourself due to what you've been through. The misunderstanding is that you've been in a comfortable place. Diamond in the rough. It's like this card that's talking about how, you know, been in a very, very rough place, but what comes out of that is this shining diamond, this beautiful soul that is able to shine and understand the true value in loving oneself, right? In honoring oneself, in just being this full version of the creation that you are, which is very enriched by the relationships you have. So I think that even when healed, you'll still be a person who enjoys your relationships the way you do and is fun and free and enjoys other people and getting together, right? The difference is that when you heal this certain particular thing, Poseidon say? I already forgot what Poseidon said. You're already in a powerful position. It may be wise to avoid coveting more. It would be prudent to focus on what one does have as opposed to what one does not. When you heal this, you will likely still be kind of doing the same type things. It's just that you won't have that piece of you that feels broken. So it's like you won't be doing it to cope anymore. You'll be doing it out of this fullness of life because you genuinely enjoy it. It's just like you'll be enjoying it without that other piece. Okay? So it's like maybe you do drugs and alcohol when you're merrymaking with your soul family, and maybe you end up cutting out the drugs and alcohol when you feel like they don't serve you anymore, when you feel like they're actually detracting from your life or inhibiting your quality of life. And maybe you gravitate towards soul family that doesn't partake. Or maybe the whole soul family kind of upgrades. But there are some higher standards here. So it's like you do what you do, but you maybe do it in a higher way when you have healed this part of you. Because this part of you is a match to how you're doing it now. So there's going to be some changes, but not altogether. Like it doesn't mean that you don't get to enjoy people and the relationships that you have. You'll maybe even be able to form longer standing bonds with people. It's like you're leveling up. And the bliss that you're going to be living is not just to avoid things. It's because you genuinely have an enjoyment of life. So what is it that you need to release? You're so close, it says. It's like a tenderness. Let's see. It's like, or maybe it really feels tender right now that it's being poked on. It's the part of you and you don't care and that can't forgive. Okay. So the formula for forgiveness is that we honor the way we feel first. This might involve expressing yourself. You might need to write it down. You might need to tell somebody. Only tell safe people that you feel comfortable, with them knowing. And it might just be journal. It might be talk therapy. It might be, someone that was involved in the situation. But what you feel is right for you, right? So you're acknowledging that there's this part of you that has a feeling, a strong feeling about this. Now, this feeling has been avoided for a long time, so it might be kind of shy about letting itself be seen fully within you, right? It's like, well, you want to pay attention to me now? And you're going to have to convince it. Yeah, I do. And also, I know it might be scary because it's an uncomfortable feeling and it hurts, and it might be it might require you to release tears, and you might cry and feel really bad that you weren't protected, that you weren't safe from this, that you were betrayed or treated this way, or victimized in this way. It might make you feel really insecure, and you might have to pass through feelings of shame and blame and things like that. But the formula for you is to honor the way you feel. So you're accepting and you're validating, that you do feel a way about this, that of course you didn't want to deal with this until now because it's been difficult and it's uncomfortable and it's not right. And then, but you accept that here you are. That's the case. Like, you're having to deal with something that is difficult and not right and overwhelming and unfair. So you accept that that's where you're at. And then the feelings will come, right? And now, how does it feel? And then be present with that feeling. And you're going to want to do each feeling as it comes up. So one feeling, focus in on it and notice it and be with it and let it be present with you. And then there's no time limit, and you're not pushing it away or wishing it was different. And you're no longer thinking about the blame part of it. You're just thinking about it like, that feeling needs my presence, and I am present with that feeling. And in so doing, with no time limit, you become the version of yourself that can process through that feeling. So because you've accepted that this is where you're at, you're no longer resisting it. And as you are being present with this feeling, you've kind of neutralized the space around you and the energy. And now this feeling, which is energy, will start moving again on its wave. And this means that you've become the version of yourself that can process that feeling. This might come with tears and release. You got to promise not to hurt yourself or anyone else through this. It's really important. And remember, they're just feelings, and they just need your presence. And that's what you're doing, is giving them presence. Feelings and energy will always move when we allow it to. So you're not doing it so that it moves, but it will move eventually when it's time, when you've become that version of yourself that you needed to become. And then another feeling might pop up, and you're like, okay, now I feel this. And it's like, now you're going to be present with that feeling. And each feeling is requiring your presence. And do this within a comfort zone where you are comfortable and where you feel safe, in life in general, in the bathtub, in the shower, a special spot in nature, in your bed. If you need a friend with you and you trust them thoroughly, I'm not saying that you can't have people support you if you have good people to support you, but ideally it's someone who would just sit silently and hold space for you and not interfere, because you'll want to become this version of yourself within yourself and become a sovereign person who takes responsibility for the feelings that you're wanting to process, because this is what grows you. This is what puts you on that plane where you have this higher standard, because you're a version of yourself who understands that processing overwhelming feelings is something you can do. When you do this, you clear up a lot of the backlog of things that you hadn't dealt with yet in your life. And as you do this, things become more and more clear. You feel lighter and freer. And then you'll realize maybe that some of those coping mechanisms you had of maybe partying or indulging in substances might not be necessary anymore, because you'll realize you were doing them to avoid feeling these things. And now that you're the version of yourself who was courageous enough and ready enough, and at the stage in your life where it was appropriate enough to process through these, you may not need some of those other coping mechanisms. You may find it really easy to walk away from those things as you alchemize the old, overwhelming, unprocessed stuff from the past. And really, this thing is the thing that's in front of you now to process, right? And so forgiveness comes in after you've done that. After you've processed it through and become the version of yourself, you might start to say, okay, well, I've handled my difficult part of it. I can kind of see a bigger picture now. And now I can kind of see that this person was hurt and they were passing along to me. Or whatever it is for you that it looks like when you decide to surrender the burden of carrying that any longer, you know? And it doesn't mean that you bring someone back into your life if that's not appropriate for you. But it also doesn't mean that you can't if you don't find yourself in that space, you know? You have to do what's right for you and get support if you need it. Get help if you need it. There are agencies and authorities on these matters, and if you feel you need that and would benefit from it, please do act on your own behalf to establish the relationships with those authorities that you may need. So this process is just a formula that I'm offering as a tool, if the tool is the right tool for you. Okay. That's going to complete your reading. Hi, you chose reflection number 3. Now, the thing about this already is that I switched piles 2 and 3 in in the time that I dealt them out and then brought them to my table where I was going to grab them. And so I thought, okay, is there a mix-up here? And for this reading, you know, only go to pile 2 if you were called. But in this reading, what I feel like a mix-up is that I aimed for the readings to be about relationships today, and I looked at the types of relationships that we could be dealing with when I pulled those cards, and I thought that it meant one thing, but it's actually pointing at something else now. I thought it was going to be about, you know, etheric kind of relationship, people that weren't really here anymore. But then we got husband. And I was like, okay, that feels different from what I thought, but I guess I'm throwing it in because maybe it means ex-husband, right? I was like, maybe, you know? And, but now, as I started laying out the cards, this reading is about someone from your past, perhaps an ex, who wants to repair things. And you want to repair things too. Maybe you want to repair things with someone from your ex. You know, this energy could be your energy, and it could be giving you information about someone else or yourself, okay? Take it as it resonates, but the angels and the departed loved ones here seem to be part of the, like, cheerleading squad of the reading, right? Think that, okay, so here's why. Here's why I say this. Because we got husband, we got ex, but we also got the marriage card, and then we got I want to marry you, you know? And we got I'm thankful for the time we had. Please communicate with me. Shame is affecting me. Thank you for the lessons. I miss you a lot. My privacy is important. Okay, now the fact that they're saying my privacy is important, it means that in this reading might feel like a violation to them. So please understand that if you find something out in this reading, you might want to consider that in order to be respectful to them, they don't really want you to go tell everybody, right? It's up to you what you do, right? I'm just saying, like, that's the feeling I get from that, okay? I guess I can't share that story because it's too revealing on some people in my life, but, well, I'll just say it like this. I remember one time someone I know, a girl, was sharing a letter that her significant other had written to her. And in this letter, he's pouring his heart out, right, to her. And I just remember thinking, oh my God, that she's sharing that with everybody. Like, that was meant for her. And my values were different from hers, obviously, right? Like, to her, it wasn't a big deal to, like, have this man's intimate thoughts just, like, for everybody else to indulge in with her. And to me, I was like, that is a private share that I'm sure he didn't expect her to go tell everybody about. Like, that seems like a violation. So just my thoughts on it, right? Like, you might be different from me. This person might be different from both of us. Who knows? But that's what I'm getting. Okay, do with it what you will. Let's unfold some of the other cards, because so far we got Victory, Zeus, Osiris, Balsamic Moon, Water, Crescent Moon, and Veritas, which represents truth. Eunice represents victory, and that's here. Zeus is a very sort of powerful, confident figure, right? So that might be like the energy of the husband figure here. We did have take care, enemies are working against you. So there might be some people that don't agree or want this to happen. New home, new attitude, celebration, fun, enjoyment, and dealings or relationship with a man with dark complexion or hair. So those things may be significant. Let's look in here. We've got unrequited love. So maybe in the past this love didn't work out. You don't know what you got till it's gone, kind of thing. We got playful approach. Passion only. Maybe in the past it was passionate only. Like maybe this was a little fling or something, right? Your desire is within reach. Ask for what you want. A conversation has to be had, and we have please communicate with me. Okay? And I like that we have I am thankful for the time we had, because it indicates here that there's some gratitude about the situation, that maybe some perspectives have changed, and also that there's not like this contingency on an acceptance of a marriage proposal. It's like, I got some lessons and I'm thankful for the time we had. Like, this person's attitude is like, that's good enough if that's what it is. But also, like, hey, do you want to talk? Union, lovers, partnership, twin, soulmate. So you may use some of those labels, but this is about a relationship coming together. Family, living, work, life, nature, strength. It's just kind of about everyday life and living. Confidence is your key to success. Right? Like, this conversation is had by, say you're the person and you're feeling this way about an ex and you want to go towards them. It's like this conversation is had with confidence, but also it acknowledges the past. It acknowledges, lessons, and shame is affecting me. Like, this person, you might not be someone who would want to say something like that. I feel like I've got to choose one way to read this, either as you are the person who is wanting to get back together, or you are the person who's going to be approached in this way. Or I'm going to talk to you about the way I began, which is that this person wants privacy. So the person who is wanting to reactivate this is coming with confidence. I want to say that. But they may also be communicating some of these more vulnerable aspects of themselves to you. And maybe not right away. Maybe that's not how it's going to unfold. But you're being made aware of these. And if privacy is important and this person has this like confident approach and a playful approach, time and place, right? You're not going to like come in with, well, I know you're ashamed or, stuff like that. It's kind of just saying, please be respectful of this person's demeanor and the way that they carry themselves, allowing them their privacy, especially if you partake in stuff like this in readings. There's this huge lesson that I've been learning about life where I realized that I've been led on this journey that brought me to a place where instead of needing to know everything, instead of like, I have this skill to look deeply into people and see the shadow and all that stuff. But what I'm actually taught is, sure, use that for my business aspect, but in my private life, in my personal life, you just let people be who they are, have an experience with them, and pull myself back from it to see them as they are instead of how I want them to be or how they might be in the future or how they plan to be. It's just like let an experience be had by being in your own body, in your own space, in your own energy, and not reading their mind and not anticipating their steps and not getting readings on what they're going to say next or do next. You know what I mean? There's a time and place for that. I think that can be helpful in sorting out some of your own shadows and where you get activated and the fact and realizing that you might be codependent if you're always looking for that reassurance and stuff. But there comes a time when you've healed all those things and you come into presence and you're like, okay, each interaction I have, it's like, oh, and just so you know, I'm really fresh at this, but this is what I've come to and understood that like each interaction I have, and now that I've realized this, I'm being brought into some interactions so that I can see it in action for myself. So I have the interaction, and then I go and I pull myself back from it and I go, oh, okay, interesting. Like, of course, there are limitless possibilities. Of course, I might be attracted to that person, or I might have further inquiries and I might feel curious and stuff. And the old part of me, like the old version of me, might have even wanted to, like, find out information about them and kind of, anticipate this or that. But what I'm being taught is to just like let it be what it is, you know? And when it's more, you'll know it's more because you've had an interaction that was more, like that, and not trying to like utilize these skills of foresight and inner knowing to, I guess, invade other people's privacy. Yeah. I think it can feel really uncomfortable. And I think that I was taking a long way to learn that in life in general. It can be intimidating for other people when you use tarot and you use these skills and you're very intuitive. And it doesn't mean you should be ashamed of that and having that or knowing that. And if you're at a stage in your life where it still serves you to find out those pieces of information, by all means. I'm just saying, like, I was brought to a situation, and this may be true for this situation here, where it's important to understand that, like, being in presence with a person is more important than digging into their background, their intentions, their next move, what they're thinking, what they're feeling. Can you have a conversation? Can you have a conversation that says, hey, I was wondering what you feel like about me, or I was wondering if you wanted to get together again, what do you think? What about just outright asking a person and having the interaction? And then whatever that experience is, taking yourself back from it because it doesn't mean anything about you, but it's an experience that you're going to process the information about, right? And I think it's a higher way of relating, that we're moving towards on earth. Okay. Emotions are running high. So it might be difficult at first, right? Because especially if we've grown up dysfunctionally, there might be this hyper-vigilant part of us that's like, I got to find out, is this worth investing in? For me, when I first started with astrology, I don't know, like a lot of years ago, more than 10 years ago, it was because I wanted to know, like, is this a person that I should be investing in? And it's like, we haven't even met yet. I don't even know if I like them yet. And I'm all like, do the stars say we could get along? And it's like, I wasn't even willing to go have the interaction to see what the experience was before I wanted to know the answer, Something like that, like slow down. Emotions are running high because sometimes the way that you have been relating or, the experiences you've had with other people have left you in this place of wanting to know so that you feel safe. You want to protect your heart. And it could just be a coping mechanism, right? And that's keeping you out of the moment and fully enjoying what the experience could be. Lack of self-trust is at the root of it. Do you trust yourself to be in the moment and to discern in the moment and to ask for what you want in the moment? Do you trust yourself enough to be present with the situation? Because it looks like a second chance at something here coming around. Give yourself. Yeah. It's okay that you weren't that way, that you learned this. We are all growing and learning, and no matter what side of this you're on, it's like, forgive yourself. Like, even if you were the other version, the other side of this probably has the same issue, lack of self-trust. I didn't trust myself to commit. I didn't trust myself to choose you. That might be kind of some of the things that this ex or person from your past says, or I trusted the wrong person. I need to forgive myself for that. Or you trusted the wrong person. I need to forgive you for that. So forgiveness, the formula is to honor how you feel first. And then you can honor that the other person had a whole other perspective and a feeling that they had. So they can only go by the experiences they have and the perspectives they have, right? So you honor yours. And once yours are fully honored, then your kind of system will be at rest in a place where it can allow that for them too. Forgiveness again. So much about forgiveness, okay? This is like, we're not carrying the past lack of self-trust on either side into this future. Because we've got celebration, fun, and enjoyment along with marriage and new home and new attitude. This is a real fresh start, a new thing that you're going to be experiencing. The angels are behind you, the departed loved ones, the ancestors want this, It's very interesting. Okay. Regret. Okay. That's another thing you're going to have to forgive yourself for. And, find a way, like even if someone else was messing with the situation, whatever it was in whatever way, it's like you regret listening to that or, getting the wrong idea or not just outright communicating, having a conversation that needed to be had. You can regret that, or you can understand that, like, you were doing your best. That's all you could do. How could you do better than your best? Like, you had a certain perspective, you had certain life experiences that led you to make the decision you made. And in this particular in situation, it came back around for you, or it's coming back around. So there's not really a lot of room for regret. So if you can forgive yourself instead, you can let go of that regret. It's like, oh, I feel bad for the lost time. It's like, well, you learned something that you apparently really needed to know in the process, and if you regret that you didn't speak up for yourself when something was happening with this other person being interfered with, it's like, well, you were doing the best you had with what you knew, how can there be regret? It's like, Forgive yourself. You see the truth, okay? The truth is known, I think maybe even by all parties is what I heard. And you're in a safe container. Okay, the safe container is made with this respect for privacy. Especially if there's been other people trying to interfere with the situation. It's like, you don't want to tell other people then. Why are you going to interfere, right? I saw this little clip on Instagram. I forget who the man is who said it, so forgive me on that. But he was saying how anything that's new, like a new pregnancy or a new project, it's in its infancy stage, and so it's most vulnerable at that stage and most vulnerable to like evil eye and jealousy and envy having any effect on it. So when something in its newest stage, it's best not to involve other people. Alleviate boredom. So trust your intuition. The boredom, the reason why it's suggested to alleviate your boredom is because like you don't want to sit around waiting for this to happen, even if you're being apprised of it. And also, you don't want to end up like letting your mind take off into stories that aren't necessarily true or that aren't helpful to you. So it's like, what can you fill your time with? What is your next most exciting thing? And you are one with nature, so maybe you have been spending time in nature, or you understand how wonderful nature is for you. What am I most afraid of losing? And that's what you want to ask for what you want. What am I most afraid of losing? I just heard another chance. What is my body telling me right now? So there may be a need to listen to your body in order to be inspired to that next most exciting thing. Like maybe you need to exercise. I was just thinking, oh, we have some snow coming. I think I want to get my bare feet out on that ground before it's covered. Like my body's telling me that. My body's saying, hey, we're going to lose that opportunity. Let's go do it. Inspiration. Yes, what are you being inspired to? Maybe by the aches or pains in your body, or maybe by a feeling, or maybe by some curiosity or excitement or inner urge. Support. I feel like even though it might look like you don't have a lot of support, you do in the etheric realm. Your support is your safety net, making sure that you have your own back no matter what happens, because you're going into this without attachment to the outcome. Star guidance. So there could be something to learn in your astrology chart about this whole process. There might be some energies that are really activated and prominent that are going to assist you, or show you where there's some challenges. Right? Like in the relationship with another person, if there's a challenge with communication, you can usually see that in the chart. If there's a challenge in the communication and it's also one of the things that you were meant to overcome in this lifetime, you can see that in the chart. Trojan horse, trickery, and Chiron, woundedness. So let's see. Trojan horse, let's read that first. We also got Zeus, and the Zeus card isn't from this deck, but it's from the astrology oracle, because Zeus is also an asteroid. I'm going to read the Zeus because I opened to the page. So, use this time wisely, but also be confident and consider taking risks, for they should pay off handsomely. You should command respect and can trust in yourself and the energy around you to deliver the best outcome. It would be difficult to lose now. Whereas before you had a lack of self-trust, this whole situation that you've been through, the one that you might even have been regretting, actually grew you into the version of yourself where you do trust yourself and you can be confident. You found out what's important to you, right? Because that was this thing you were afraid of losing. It's like, oh, well, I can't trust myself because what if this? And it's like, that is something that's really important to you. Now you know. Do you now find yourself in a position of hesitation regarding a suspicious offer? Easy. Quietly and diplomatically, check the horse out before you pull it in. Don't get caught out, but don't turn a genuine gift away either. This is about trusting yourself. So this person coming towards you has learned to trust themselves, and you are also in a position to trust yourself. You've learned too, right? Yes. So there's some discernment here. It's not giving you the answer. It's not saying you're being tricked, but it's saying you might think you are. 222 on the stove. I never set the time on my stove. I think it's interesting that often I'm doing readings here and I'll see 111, 1111, 222, 333, 444. I'll see those quite a bit on there, and it's not. I'm not always looking there. I don't look there for the time. It just happens to be in my view because it's behind the laptop. So interesting. 222 means balance. And it's like remaining balanced in this situation is going to allow you to see the truth. Because you're not all wrapped up in knowing ahead of time. You're in that moment, in the flow. You can feel the truth. Right? There was one more card here. Chiron. Read it, I'm like, I can feel myself being like, I just saw it. There it is. This card implies that sensitivity, compassion, and healing are required now. Sensitivity, right? Like not violating this person's privacy, not trying to pry, not trying to dig in further than their offer. Let it unfold. If someone feels wounded, know that you can find peace within as you seek to understand and heal hidden pain. Sometimes as you go into this situation, you might realize, oh, there is some pain there. I didn't know I was still carrying that. Now I've been alerted to it. Let me handle that, right? Be gentle and kind with human frailty, and Chiron will surely help you. Yeah. It's really, and it is offering a playful approach here. It's really saying, like, human beings, been through some hard stuff, coming around for another try here. Let's honor all the things. The truth, what we want, the requirement for privacy, and also, because there is a vulnerability here. Expression of desire, passion, emotion, and confidence, right? So don't let confidence steer you wrong either, right? It's like feel into what that is and what that means. There's one more set of cards here. False omens, protection, withdraw projection, distortion, demanding, old friend. So this is likely an old friend if it's not an old relationship. New friend, collaborate, and stubborn. Okay. I feel like it's an old friend turned into a new friend, right? It's an old friend and it feels completely different. Anyway, there's a potential for a new friend here. The withdraw projection means like you're at risk of projecting your own fear in this situation onto the other. Like if you're that trickery card, it's like, oh, this seems too good to be true. I'm gonna have to say no. And it's like, is that your own fear that you're projecting onto the situation? Because maybe you instead should be looking within to see where that comes from. Is that you trying to protect yourself from having another painful situation? And is it based in reality? Has there been growth? Can you notice that if you're in the moment? Notice where you're trying to protect yourself. Notice where you're demanding. Like, oh, I need it to look this way. You need to act this way. You needed to come with flowers. You needed to bend on one knee when you proposed, Like just weird things like that you have within you that are actually like barriers to connection because they're just stories that you told and meanings that you gave something that doesn't actually mean that. This is asking you to work together. It really is. It's like collaboration and stubbornness here is it's like I kind of get this feeling where it's like if you notice some stubbornness in someone, maybe you allow it for them to a certain degree. You know, look for it within yourself. Where are you being stubborn? Can you allow that for them? And maybe they can soften on that too, because there's a collaboration, there's a working together, there's a, okay, yes, I can bend here, I can't bend there. Let me look at this within myself and see why. Is this something that you recognize in yourself that you're not bending on, or is this, am I not seeing that correctly? And it's like, oh, let me think about that for myself for a minute. Let me see why I want to do it that way, you know? Because whatever distortions exist in your own perspective, in your own perception, are going to be seen here. This is what it's saying. There's such mirrors going on here in this situation that whatever distortions you have in your field, you're going to see them and you're probably going to blame it on the other person. Please remember, that's false. It's actually within you. This relationship here is designed to be a perfect mirror where you can see yourself. Just heard the situation is protected as well. But, because you've had that situation where someone else has interfered, you might want to get on the same page with that. Like, ask for it what you want. I want us to kind of keep this, between us for a while we establish and see what this even means for us. Is that cool? Like that. Okay, so, if you were listening to this and the whole time you were like, I do not want to get back together with that person, right? Then this isn't for you, right? Because this reading and this reflection is reflecting back a situation where there's something coming around that is a spiritual kind of thing where it's kind of important for these two people to be mirrored to each other truthfully and appropriately and not for just the reason of clearing up their own distortion. It's a gift that they give each other. That's why the cosmos are backing it up, right? That's why the ancestors and the angels are all like invested in this coming together. That's why it's protected. Because it's a high calling. It's not been easy. And, and they deserve support. They deserve support, not to have someone working against them. All right. That is going to complete your reading.